afternoon. Are you Morgan Curry? Well, this is our witness stand. We're going to come up here. When you get to the stand, you put your things down, but just remain standing. Thank you. Raise your right hand to be sworn.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Please state your full legal name for the record.
Morgan Curry,
Please spell your first and last name for the record.
MORGANCURR.
Thank you. Please have a seat. Madam, that microphone will adjust up or down, not back and forth. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
The counsel may proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Curry. How are you today?
Good afternoon.
Where do you currently work?
With the Naval Criminal Investigative Service,
What do you do for the Naval Criminal Investigative Service?
I conduct criminal felony investigations, also hold arrest authority.
And in terms of your job description, what area or specialization do you?
Yes, so specialize in cold cases as well as in forensic consulting for the Naval Criminal Investigative Service.
What does that mean of your job description? What area or specialization do you?
Yes, so specialize in cold cases as well as in forensic consulting for the Naval Criminal Investigative Service.
What does that mean to be a forensic consultant for the Naval Criminal Investigative Service?
Yes, handle any type of forensic expertise or crime scene processing.
Okay, and the crime scene processing that you do, what types of training and experience do you have to do that from NCIS? And not the TV show, just to be clear.
Correct. Received over 210 hours of formal training in crime scene processing and documentation, to also include photography, the collection of evidence, the processing of evidence, collection of DNA, fingerprinting, various other forensic principles. I also received a bachelor's degree prior to NCIS, but specifically within NCIS, just a formal training of documenting and collecting evidence.
Prior to working for NCIS, where were you employed?
With the Miramar Police Department.
How many years were you with the Miramar Police Department?
About 4 years.
And the 4 years that you were there with Miramar, what different job titles did you hold?
Started out as a evidence and property custodian for 2 years, and then was promoted to a crime scene technician for 2 years.
And so what were your job description as an evidence custodian?
Evidence custodian, so collecting as well as storing any type of incoming evidence or property for the department.
Okay, and then once you were promoted to crime scene technician, how did your job description change?
It included the same responsibilities as the evidence and property custodian, but it changed a bit as far as going out to various scenes to collect, process, as well as document or photograph crime scenes.
Did you take classes or trainings?
Yes, I did.
And so what ones did you take at Miramar Police Department?
Specifically at Miramar, completed a 16-week on-the-job training with crime scene documentation, as well as photography and other crime scene principle training, and then also throughout my employment there within the 2 years, just continued with additional advanced trainings.
Okay. You mentioned that you had a bachelor's degree as well. What was that in?
Also in forensics with a minor in anthropology.
And where did you get that?
Florida Gulf Coast University.
And what year?
2014.
Did you also obtain a master's degree?
Yes, I did.
And in 2017, where did you obtain your master's degree from?
From Nova Southeastern University.
And in what field of study?
Department of Homeland Security was the concentration, but it was the degree was titled National Security Affairs.
With regards to your involvement in this case, on October 26th of 2018, you became involved in the investigation regarding Miramar case number 18-10-020629. And what was your job description for this case?
I was a crime scene technician in this case.
Were you the only crime scene technician?
No, there were several others.
So walk the ladies and gentlemen jury through how you first became involved.
First involvement was contacted by our dispatch unit to respond to assist with processing the scene.
And when you are contacted, are you at home? Are you on shift?
I would have to refer back to my report to specifically know for this case, but normally what happens is either contacted by phone and or if we're on our radio or contacted via radio.
Do you respond directly to the hospital in this case?
Yes, I did.
What is the first thing you do when you get to the hospital?
Meeting with the detective that's on scene, if they're on scene, and or the lead officer that's there to debrief on whatever my assistance is needed for.
Okay, and so what tasks were you assigned once you spoke with the officers and detectives on scene?
I was specifically tasked with photographing and documenting the individuals that were there at the hospital.
When you say the individuals that were they living or deceased?
Deceased.
Did you have any involvement or contact with Cortlen Henry, who would be a living individual?
Not to my knowledge.
Did you have any contact with the defendant in this case, Jamell Demons?
No.
So I'm going to start and go through when you're documenting the scene at the hospital. How do you do that?
Again, first starts with speaking with the detective or officer that's there to kind of brief on the case. Then from there we start with photography. It would also include photographing the scene, photographing the important information and or evidence, documenting via notes, so taking notes as far as address, other pertinent information, and then also if there's collection of evidence, just making sure that you document what evidence you're collecting and transporting it appropriately.
In terms of the number of photographs that you take, I'm not asking you exactly how many, but how is it? Voluminous?
Could you use a different word?
Sure. Do you take a bunch of them?
Yes. So, yes.
Is there any particular pattern that you do when you're taking these photographs?
Yes. So we start with overalls. So that just includes an overall depiction of the scene to include, again, addresses or any type of location information that there is there. And then we move into mid-ranges. So if there's any specific mid-ranges that ties what you're focusing on in your scene to specific pieces of evidence, you would start there. And then if there is something that needs a close-up photograph, we then move into close-ups.
And do you follow that same process, whether you're documenting a person, a place, or a thing?
That is correct.
In this case, you mentioned collecting evidence. Can you describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you do when you're collecting a piece of evidence?
When you're collecting a piece of evidence, you'd start initially by documenting it with notes, and then from there photographing it, and then if there's photographing it in that same sequence. So overall is where it's located, mid-range, and then close-ups. After that, you would then collect it and bag it appropriately to be transported from the scene.
Okay, so I'm going to go back now. When you're collecting it, what do you do to ensure there's no contamination of the evidence?
So we always make sure to have PPE, personal protection equipment. So that includes things like gloves, masks, face mask if needed, a tie-bed suit, which would be kind of like a coverall suit to protect your clothing and or to protect the specific pieces of evidence to be contaminated with the items on your clothing. And so then from there we would bag them into specific pieces of bagging materials. It could be paper, it could be plastic.
So Investigator Curry, is there a reason why paper bags are used or plastic bags are used?
Yes, so we use paper because it is a porous material, meaning a breathable material. Any type of biohazard evidence that you're collecting should be in a porous material, some type of paper material so that it can breathe, so that it's not contaminated with mold or other bacterial items.
So if items are damp or moist or wet in any way, how do you deal with that as a crime scene technician?
Yep, so we do have sterilized dryers. So any type of items that are wet at the time, we do transport them in that paper, that breathable material, and then from there it goes over to our drying chamber to be dried.
After they are dried, do you package them again?
Correct. After they're dried, they are packaged in that paper material.
And with regards to our courtroom presentation, are there occasions in which the clothing is placed between clear plastic to make it easier to handle and deal with in court?
Correct.
Okay. So I'm going to start. I'm going to approach here.
Can we approach very briefly?
Yes.
Sorry.
We need a short recess. Do not discuss the case. Don't form any opinion about the case. Don't allow anyone to discuss the case in your presence. Certainly no research. Just leave your notepads on your chairs. Thank you. Thank you. Let the record reflect the jury stepped down. Counsel remain along with defendant. Demons, you need your restroom break? Nope, you're good? All right. Counsel, just so you know, sometime when I put the white noise on, we had a conversation, you're not facing me, I can't hear what you're doing, that's why I just asked, not offending in any way, just couldn't hear. Okay, all right, no, it's no problem, we're in recess. Appreciate it. Thank you. Please be seated. Let the record reflect the presence of our jury, as well as the defendant, Demons, his counsel, the assistant state attorney, and our witness, Ms. Curry, remains on the stand. Counsel, if you're ready to continue, you may.
Yes, Your Honor. So, Investigator Curry, you mentioned that the first step you take is documenting through photographs. When you arrived at the scene for this case at 1901 Southwest 117th Avenue, did you take photographs of the deceased as you found them?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, permission to approach?
Yes, counsel, you may.
Mr. Curry, I want you to take a look at what's been previously marked as States H for identification purposes. It's a USB and a collection of photographs. Prior to coming into court today, did you have the opportunity to review the contents of that USB and the photographs that are attached?
Yes, I did.
Are the photographs a fair and accurate representation of what is on the USB device?
Yes, it is.
Do those photographs fairly and accurately represent the documentation you did of the two individuals who were deceased on October 26, 2018 as you found them at the hospital?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time the state would request from the State's H into evidence as a composite of 45 photos and one USB.
Is there any objection?
No objection to the photos. I assume the USB is exactly what the photographs are. We did not look at the USB.
That is correct. That is done so that there is a hard copy and a digital copy for any other record that's necessary.
Based on that recommendation, no objection.
Thank you. They'll be admitted.
Okay.
States H will be marked as States 8.
I'm sorry, what number?
8, number 8.
And permission to publish, Your Honor?
Are the photographs, they're marked? They're all part of the composite? Is that
They
a
are.
composite exhibit?
It's a composite of 45 photos and one USB.
Thank you. You're admitted.
start with the first photograph here. What are we looking at in this image?
It's our photo template.
What is its purpose?
It documents what scene we're photographing, provides necessary identifying information, as in who took the photos, date and time, case number, location, and what the incident is in reference to.
Okay. I'm going to start with the folder that is sub-labeled Anthony Williams. Did you have the opportunity to document the deceased who later became known to you as Anthony Williams?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to start with labeled as image 2. What are we looking at here?
That is the room plate number at the hospital that I responded to.
Was there an officer that was standing outside of this room?
Yes, it was.
Was anyone allowed into this room prior to your arrival for documentation purposes?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Next photo, what are we looking at?
That is the photograph of the wristband that was on the deceased.
And the date of birth of January 1st of 1880 and 138 years old. Can you describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what it says on there and what is a trauma bracelet?
I would not know that.
No. Can you describe what it says, what the name was assigned to the individual?
Chocolate, comma, anonymous.
The second photo, what do you see here?
That is an overall photograph of the deceased.
Why do you take an overall photograph?
It goes back to our initial documentation of how we process each scene. We start with an overall to gather as much information as we can about what we're observing, and then move in to specific areas.
On to the next photograph. What are we looking at here?
It is a close-up of the deceased face.
Okay. Is there items of jewelry that are visible in this photograph?
Yes, it is.
So starting with on the ears, is there jewelry that is in the deceased ear lobes?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Is there, we'll move on to the necklace in a different one. Going on to the next photo, what are we looking at?
Again, another close-up of the deceased face.
At this point, there is now no longer a hospital gown. What happened?
In order for us to fully document as is, we start off with the overalls with the gown on, and then follow behind with documenting the full overall of the body. So we remove the gown with hospital staff members.
The next photo, the necklace and items here. Did you ever collect those?
No, I did not.
What are we looking at in this image?
It appears to be some type of wound.
Do you document all wounds as they appear to you?
Yes, we do.
Do you have any background in medical training, or are you trained as a medical examiner?
No, I am not.
Moving on to what are we looking at this photograph?
So it's a rearward or supine facing photo of the deceased. Okay. So the back of the head.
Do you do anything to clean up the deceased?
No, we do not.
The plastic bags inside the paper bags, what are those?
So that contain various clothing items and personal belongings to the deceased.
Is this what you're talking about before you get to the drying chamber?
That is correct.
Is this packaging from the hospital or from Miramar?
It's from the hospital.
What are we looking at in this particular image?
Yes, so it's a GSR kit, gunshot residue kit.
And was this performed on Anthony Williams?
Yes, it was.
And now more close-up of this GSR kit.
Correct.
What can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury about the red staining that is showing up?
Yes, so the red staining contains various debris as well as the blood that is found on the deceased, or on the area that we use to swab or test.
What is the purpose of the gunshot residue testing?
Yes, So the purpose of the test kit is to determine if there is some type of gunshot residue on the specific item, whether it's an individual or a specific piece of evidence that you're testing.
And the specific name of the gunshot residue test that's being done is what?
Friend or foe.
What was the result of this gunshot residue testing?
Is negative. Presence of GSR.
Okay. So going now to the images under the subfolder Christopher Thomas, starting with image number 34. What are we looking at here?
So again, a photo of the room number at the hospital.
The next photo that is here, is this an establishing shot?
Yes, it is an overall.
The black box that's put on there for modesty, was that done by you?
No, it's not.
No. When you take the photo, how is the body?
As is pristine.
Okay. Do you document the same like we discussed with the prior?
Yes. So it starts all over again, doing the overalls, then into the mid-range and close-ups.
Next photo?
So it's a close-up of the deceased head.
Does anyone assist you in locating areas or wounds, scars, marks, tattoos?
Yes. So if there's other investigators that are there or crime scene technicians that are there, as well as other medical staff or nurses or any other individuals that are allowed to be in that area are assisting.
Was there any evidence of medical intervention that was removed from the body?
Not to my knowledge.
On this picture here, what are we looking at?
So another close-up of the deceased face.
What was the purpose of this next photo that we are looking at?
So it is it's a mid-range of the abdomen area or the body area, the upper body area, to show the various puncture wounds as well as projectiles that are protruding out of the skin.
So, does the screen there work if you circle on it? It should be a touch screen. Let's see. So that when you're talking about the protruding projectiles in the skin.
Correct. It could be, and so it would require additional examination, but it could be anything as far as projectiles or metal shrapnel that comes from casings or bullets.
And in terms of, you're not trained as a medical examiner to know what's going on underneath the skin.
Correct.
On to the next image. What are you documenting in this photo?
So the lower extremities of the deceased, as well as the feet, with the several, what we can observe as some type of injuries.
And was there a name assigned to this individual?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And what was the last and first name of this individual that you were documenting?
Tama Tack Christopher.
Okay. What are we looking at in this specific photo?
Yes, so another documentation of the upper body of the deceased, as well as various injuries.
Okay. And then this photo?
So a close-up of an observed injury to the body.
Moving again to the next photo, what area of the body are we looking at here?
This is the chest as well, chest or abdomen area.
And so if you could just circle on the screen or use the pointer to indicate where's the arm versus where's the chest.
So arm and then the chest.
Moving on to the image here, what extremity are we looking at?
So the inner thigh,
And on which leg?
right.
And again, a close-up of that same wound in the next photo.
Correct.
Going to the photo that we're looking at here, is someone assisting you in moving the body?
Yes, one of the medical staff members.
And what are you documenting in this photo?
So documenting the rear or the back of the deceased with the observed injuries.
Okay. And Investigator Curry, at the time when you're looking at this individual, have you already seen the Jeep that's outside?
I do not recall.
Okay. So going to next photo, what are we looking at in this one?
So the lower extremities, the rear lower extremities of the deceased.
Here, so I want to make sure it's clear what area have we moved back up to on the body in this photo.
Yes, so the back of the deceased.
Have you done any sort of cleaning or making it easier to see in any way, shape, or form of the body at this point?
No, I have not.
What are we looking at this photo?
So I believe that is the arm, a close-up of the injuries or wounds on the arm.
So I'm just going to go back one. So is that what you call the mid-range shot, and then going forward again, the close-up?
Correct.
Okay. And what are we looking here near the elbow?
Yes, another injury on that same arm.
And then going to this on the thigh. What the last image you talked about on the inner right thigh, where's this defect that we're looking at in comparison to that one?
It's the outer right thigh.
Going to this photo here, what are we looking at here?
So the backside of the deceased.
Okay. And now in this photo?
A close-up of that same backside of the deceased.
And again, on the right upper back of the deceased.
Correct.
Next photo, what is this showing?
Some type of injury or defect up under the underarm of the deceased.
The defects for the purposes of this, is someone holding the victim's arm in an upward position?
Yes.
Okay. Next photograph, what are we looking at?
So belongings, various belongings to the deceased.
Did you do the same GSR testing to Mr. Thomas's hands?
Yes, I did.
And with regards to that, were there any results on that?
No, the results were negative.
Can you describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury how you do the GSR testing on the deceased hands?
Yes. So with the assistance of hospital staff, just have them hold their hands out as best way that we can. Using that kit, again, donning or putting on PPE, so some type of protective equipment, gloves, or some type of mask. Opening the kit up itself from a sterilized package, using that, it's more like a swab or a cotton pad to which we rub against the individual's hand or whatever the object that we're testing for GSR. We rub that for about 15 to 30 seconds to collect whatever fluid that we can on that cotton swab. And then from there, there is a chemical that is within that same tubing or that same kit. That chemical is then applied to the cotton swab there. Wait about 5 seconds or so for a reaction. And if there is a presence of GSR, you will see there's a photograph within the kit or some type of depiction within the kit that shows that if blue specks come up, it does have some type of presence for GSR. And if you do not see those blue specks, then there's a negative presence for GSR.
So going forward, I'm going to show you a large bag here that I'm going to approach with so you can view the contents. I'm going to open up the evidence seal on the outside of the bag now. So, Mr. I don't think we established prior to today, do you live here locally?
No, I do not.
As part of the Naval Criminal Intelligence Service, where are you stationed?
out of Virginia.
And if you need gloves, there's 2 different types here. Scissors as well. The items that are in here, you can look at them best you can without taking them out of the packaging. Do those items appear to be the same ones you collected from the victim, Anthony Williams, on October 26th of 2018?
Yes, it is.
So I'm going to start with our defense counsel. Do you wish to approach?
No.
The items have been placed into clear plastic wrapping. Clear, so we're going to mark this item as item I. What is state item I?
Are you moving them into evidence?
Yes.
Shouldn't they?
They should not be displayed until they're moved into evidence without due respect.
So, investigator
Objection
first.
sustained, so I want to...
Investigator first. Just put it behind the TV. Is item I the same or substantially the same condition as when you collected it on October 26th of 2018?
Is there, excuse me, Counsel, the objection pending is still up being displayed to the jury. Is there a way you can do this without going?
So, here. Put it back to the back.
I'll make it easier. No objection to the clothes coming into evidence.
So with regards to without objection, so statement estimate states I in.
No objection, correct?
No
It
objection.
will be admitted. States
Thank you.
aye.
Okay. And so states J.
No objection regarding states J.
No. No, sir.
It will be admitted.
States I will be marked states number 9.
Number 9.
Number 9. States J will be marked states 10.
Thank you.
So to start with what's previously admitted now is states 8-9, the black pants. Could you please hold those up for the jury? Moving on to state K.
Any objection?
No objection.
States K will be admitted, if that's what you're seeking, Counsel.
Yes, Your Honor.
States K will be marked states 11.
Switch with you and Mr. Gifford will go. You'll be so kind as to tell us and describe to ladies and gentlemen of the jury what is your homework right now.
So in my hand is the jean jacket that was seized from the hospital.
And what number is that, Counsel?
States 10, Your Honor.
Thank you.
to the plans to publish states 11. I'll switch with you. Thank you. Is that how you received the shirt?
No, it was not.
What did you do in terms of processing it or any cuts or anything to the shirt?
So we don't cut anything from the items itself. What we simply do is spread it out, per se, so it's folded, unfolded, so that it can be tried in our dry machine.
Okay. And last but not least, the initial original packaging.
That's correct.
Is that the initial original packaging that those items were placed into?
Yes, that is.
And did that have your name, handwriting, case number, and seal on it?
That is correct.
So with regards to the items from the victim, Mr. Anthony Williams, what did you do to process those clothing items?
After they were done drying, to document them, once again photographing them in the lab, to document any type of what we could identify as wounds or cuttings or anything that would assist us in documenting the clothing that came from the deceased.
When you are documenting on the outside of these packaging items, are you indicating a photo marker on them?
Yes.
And why do you put the photo marker on there?
So visually it allows some type of visual documentation, so it's easier to see what we're looking at.
Okay. I'm trying
As
to,
well as to identify that specific piece.
trying to focus on the state L or those. Investigator Crime Trainer has been previously marked as states L for identification purposes only. Do you recognize the handwriting on that packaging?
Yes, I do.
Do you recognize your seal and Miramar ID number on it?
Yes, I do.
And is that in the same or substantially same condition as when you packaged it in October of 2018?
Yes, it is.
And what is this item?
It is identified as one black sock, one black and gray sock, one black boxer.
And which individual did you take these from?
Anthony Williams.
Here at this time, the state would request to state LN.
Any objection?
No objection.
It'll be admitted.
States L when you mark states number 12.
Investigator Curry, if I could ask you to be so kind as to publish these items. There are 3. 2 socks and a pair of
Positive
gloves. And there are gloves if you're hanging. The scissors are right there. Can you be so kind as to open it?
remove them out of the bag.
Please, if you could hold them up and show the ladies and gentlemen during. Now, Investigator Curry, did you collect any of the tennis shoes in this case?
Yes, I did.
With regards to the additional processing that was done on the shoes, did you do that or was that done by another investigator?
To my knowledge, it was done by me.
Okay. So moving on, I want to go to Christopher Thomas as well. Did you collect the evidence from his person?
Yes, I did.
So, please be so kind as to open the warrant on the packaging.
Your Honor, we have no objection to the Christopher Thomas pledge coming in.
What's the exhibit numbers?
This is the M, N, and O.
Is that correct, counsel? All, as to M, N, and O, there's no objection?
No objection.
Thank you. Counsel, there's multiple exhibits in each one of these?
That they are individually packaged.
So they're not composites. Thank you. M, N, and O will be admitted in the next series.
That's your original packaging again?
Correct.
So N will be a white undershirt. That would be 13 if Mr. Trunks is correct.
It's in United States 13.
States N is a black Stranger Things jacket. States N. Yeah.
States N will be marked States 14.
And States O are some blue jeans.
States O will be marked States 15.
Detective Curry, if you could be so, I'm sorry, Investigator Curry, if you'd be so kind as to States 13, the t-shirt, show to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury the defects that you documented.
So here, 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 here. And here as well.
What's been admitted as States 14, the black Stranger Things jacket. You could do the same on the back of that.
Here. Here. Here.
Okay.
I believe I
Thank you. And investigators are now approaching what has been previously marked as State's P and shown to defense counsel. Do you recognize that?
Yes, ma'am.
What is that?
Additional clothing collected from the scene from Christopher Thomas.
And are those items still in the original packaging?
Yes, it is.
Is your seal still intact with your name, ID number?
Yes, it is.
No objection.
Here at this time, the state requesting the State's P in.
There's no objection, so they'll be admitted. How many items are in there, Counsel?
It's 2 black socks and 1 boxers.
They'll be admitted.
Thank you.
You can offer this composite, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
State's P will be marked as a composite of 3 items.
And so once you collect the clothes, you indicated that you document them via photographs.
That is correct.
So I'm going to approach now what's been previously shown to defense counsel and has been marked as State's Composite H of 1 USB and photographs for you to review. I'm going to show you the USB first. Investigator, you do recognize that USB drive?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize that USB drive?
It has my initials on the back.
And is that fairly accurately depict the photos that you took when processing and documenting the clothing and shoes of the victims in this case?
Yes, it is.
And the photographs here, are they fairly and accurately depict the same photographs that are on that USB drive?
Yes, it does.
Here at this time, the state is requesting of State's Composite Q in.
Any objection?
No objection. Again, on the same representation that we have not looked at the USB, but as long as the state represents that it's nothing but those photographs, we have no objection.
That's the state's
correct.
representation.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
No
State's
objection.
Q will be marked as State's 17.
They'll be admitted. Thank you.
And permission to publish, Your Honor?
Yes. How many photographs you said?
That I can tell you in just a moment. Investigator Curry, if you have the clothing, why is it important to document it at the time of collection?
To be able to document how they were received, as we weren't the individuals that collected the clothing from the deceased.
So on photograph number 1 under Anthony Williams, it has a G down here at the bottom of the photograph. Why is there a G?
It depicts the item letter that's assigned to the items.
Do you go through and assign a letter to each item that you're looking at?
Yes, each item that's collected receives a letter.
So going through on item G, and I believe there are 50 photographs, Your Honor, to answer your prior question. Why do you take photographs of each side of these shoes?
To accurately depict the entire item from various angles.
Okay. Again on item G. Moving on to item H. What, in terms of, is that the same that's been previously admitted into evidence, the black pants that we looked at first?
Yes, it is.
The contents of the pockets, why do you photograph it as such?
To be able to document what items are within the pockets, because they may not be visible
Okay.
as they are.
And now what are we looking at on item H? What view?
So the backside or the rear side of the jeans.
So this is still marked as item number, or letter H.
Yes.
What items were found inside item H?
These were the items that were derived from the black jeans.
Okay. Were those items collected and cataloged?
Yes.
Okay. With regards to the amount of currency that you're seeing right here, how much is that?
$97.
Council has been previously marked as states are. Investigator Curry, do you recognize this item?
Yes, I do.
It's been marked as states are for identification purposes. What is that?
It's a currency bag filled with the currency from the item each that was identified.
And is it in the same or substantially same condition as being collected it on the day of processing?
Yes, it is.
Is it sealed with your name and ID still?
Yes, it is.
Is it verified by another individual as to the amount of the currency?
Yes, it is.
Here at the time, the state would request to move states are in.
Is there any objection?
No, sir.
It'll be admitted. Next series, what is that?
States R will be marked states 18.
Thank you.
On to what's been labeled here as states. Your Miramar item I previously admitted into evidence the boxers and the 2 socks.
That is correct.
Is this how you found them?
Yes.
Do you do any of the cutting of them when you receive them?
No, I do not.
Do you know who does?
Generally, medical staff.
What's item J?
Picture of the jean jacket that was provided by medical staff of the deceased, or from the deceased.
With regards to this next photo of item J, there is an arrow indicating a circular area. Are you able to tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury if that is or is not a distressed portion of the jacket or is some sort of bullet defect?
Based on my experience in training, it appears to be something similar to a bullet hole.
Okay. With regards to the arrows, is that where you're putting those on there?
That is correct.
Moving on to the back of item J, is that how it looked when you collected it?
That is correct.
Based on your training and experience as a crime scene investigator, does the appearance of blood change over time as it's stored in evidence?
That is correct.
That's still the same jacket that we have in evidence.
That is correct.
Again, item J with the 2 arrows that you have on there,
That is correct.
those 2 areas of interest that you identified.
Yes.
This is a close-up of the one item J defect. What can you tell about this particular item that makes you, based on your training experience, say that it's a bullet hole?
Just based on the size, the distress in the jeans, or I'm sorry, in the clothing, and the diameter of the specific defect.
So going on to the black shirt that's been placed into evidence.
That is correct.
That's item K as you documented it. And the little letter K that you put on each of these photos. Why do you put it on the photos?
Because it's a close-up, just to be able to identify that this particular close-up pertains to the overall item K.
Okay. Now looking at the other side of that same t-shirt.
Correct.
Again, how can you tell, or what based on your training experience will tell you that this is a bullet defect?
Based on the perforation inside the clothing itself, to include the diameter of the defect as well.
Okay. Make sure I turn this back in for the clerk. So with regards to Christopher Thomas's clothing, did you recover money and currency from his clothing?
I would have to have my name question.
Okay. If I may approach what's been previously marked as State S after showing it to defense counsel?
Yes, counsel.
Investigator Curran, I'm showing it's been previously marked as States S for identification purposes only. Do you recognize your seal, your ID number, and the date of October 29th of 2018?
That is correct.
On the front of it, do you document the individual from which his items, clothing was collected, as well as the amount?
Correct.
Does looking at that refresh your recollection as to whether or not you collected currency from Christopher Thomas?
Yes, it does.
Did you collect currency from Christopher Thomas?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Is that fairly and accurately depict the currency and is in the same or substantially same condition when you collected on October 29th, 2018?
That is correct.
You're at this time the state would request to move States S in.
No objection.
No objection.
It'll be admitted.
States S will be marked States 19.
Showing you what's been marked as States T for identification purposes. Are those the sneakers that we just used in those photographs?
Yes, it is.
Do they in the same or substantially same condition?
Yes.
You're at this time the state request to move States T in.
Any objection?
No objection.
T will be admitted in the next series, counsel.
States T will be marked States 20.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Investigator Fair, would you be so kind as to open this and publish it for the jury?
Is that one?
20. And Investigator Curry, those New Balance shoes, where were they collected from?
It shows that they were collected from the hospital.
With regards to the other items that were collected from the victims. Did you collect any suspect narcotics?
Not to my knowledge.
In terms of that was October 29th of 2018. That was all the investigative work you did on that date.
Correct.
So I'm going to go forward to November 21st of 2018. What was your role in the investigation on that day?
On the 21st, can I have my report or some type of refresher?
Yes, would you help to refer to your report? I will
Please.
show defense counsel. Okay. And so if you would just refer to it silently to yourself, and once your memory is refreshed.
Yeah.
Thank you. So on November 21st of 2018, what was your role in this investigation?
Responded to US 27 to document a additional scene that was believed to be some type of supplement to the initial call out for this case.
When you arrived on scene at the US 27, who else was there?
Several other detectives, law enforcement personnel, to include Miramar Police Department detectives and other crime scene investigators.
And with regards to those crime scene investigators, what was your specific role?
To assist in documenting and collecting any evidence that was observed on the scene.
Did you document collect evidence there?
Yes, I did.
Okay. In terms of, for start with the photographs, did you take photographs at that scene?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Showing what's been previously marked as states V for identification. Investigator Curry, do you recognize that USB?
Yes, I did.
Do you recognize the photos that are attached to it?
Yes, I did.
How do you recognize those?
It has my information on there, my badge number, Miramar Police Department badge number, and it's also in my email.
Did you have an opportunity to review the contents of that USB and those photographs before coming to court today?
Yes, I did.
Do they fairly and accurately depict the evidence and your processing and documenting on November 21st of 2018?
Yes, it does.
Here at this time, the state would request to move states V into evidence and permission to publish.
Any objection?
No objection, basically with the same proviso. The USB we have not seen. If those are copies of the photographs, I have no objection.
State,
They are the same, Your Honor.
No objection.
they'll be admitted evidence.
Space B will be marked States 21.
You may publish.
Thank you, Your Honor. Starting with the first image.
So the photo template, the initial photo that is taken with photograph in the scene.
And is this still under the same 18-10-06269 case number?
Correct.
And what date, again, was this done on?
November 21st, 2018.
The next photo, what are you showing here?
A location or establishing shot of where the scene is.
What direction are you facing in this photograph?
I believe it's going to be east to west. I'm sorry, south to north.
Hold on, just 1 second. Let me- So you said you were facing east in this direction, west, and US 27 would be behind you?
Bear with me. Yes, that is correct, east to west.
So for the purpose of further on pictures, the power lines that we see on the right side, that's the south side of the road,
That is correct.
and there are no power lines on the north side of the road.
That is correct.
Okay. You indicated that there were other investigators on scene as well.
That is correct.
Is this some of the canine officers you were discussing?
Correct.
So again, looking in an eastern direction, but now focusing on the south side of the road. Can you describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury some of the yellow and orange markers and what they're there for?
Yes. So the yellow and orange markers are there to help depict items of evidence that can't necessarily be seen as they are maybe covered by the shrubs or the grass.
So moving on, what direction are you facing in this photograph here?
Facing towards the west.
And so at the end of this street here, what road is this?
On the end there is US 27.
Okay. The items that we see here, the flags, do they correspond with a photo marker or are they indicating something else?
So they may be corresponding with the, they have a photo marker next to it, but they depict the actual pieces of evidence.
So going on to this next photo, again with the power lines looking at the south side of the street. How many items did you indicate with photo markers on the south side of the street?
7.
So on the north side of the street, how many items did you indicate with photo markers?
3.
Do they continue in sequential order?
Yes, they do.
1 through 7 is on the south side, 8, 9, and 10 on the north side.
Correct.
Again, showing 8, 9, and 10 on the north. So I want to go back to item number 1, back on the south side. Can you describe what we're looking at in this photo here with photo marker number 1?
Yes. So the shell casing, spent casing, that is it.
Okay. That's that particular item?
That is correct.
Was this item collected?
Yes, it was.
Why do you take multiple photographs from different angles of these items?
Just to get an overall depiction of the specific item and then also accounting for lighting or better visibility of the item.
And the glass appearing object underneath the casing, did you collect any of that specific glass right there?
I do not believe we did.
Why not?
I think after discussing with the investigators, did not believe that it was in reference or pertaining to the case item.
Okay. Did it have any characteristics of auto glass?
Objection beyond the scope
If she
of
knows.
her expertise.
Hey, first establish that she may know something about this.
So, Investigator Curry, and part of your training in crime scene, is it determining what evidence may be something that would be to collect?
Yes, it is.
In terms of the facts of the case, is that something that you're familiar with and you familiarize yourself with to know what types of evidence may exist?
Correct.
For glass and glassware, do you have any training in identifying potential sources of glass or other items that may be of evidence you're done?
Yes, I do.
With regards to the glass in the Jeep that was found at the hospital, had you had the opportunity to view that Jeep prior to November 21st of 2018?
Yes, I have.
The glass that was in the Jeep, was that consistent with the glass that is there in this photo marker number 1?
No, it was not.
Moving on to photo marker number 2. What are we looking at in this particular image?
So the glass fragments that are in the glass.
Going now to photo marker number 2, the next image. Can you describe to ladies and gentlemen how you're taking this photo?
So it is considered a close-up photograph of the glass fragments is at 90 degrees directly over the glass that was on the ground.
Moving on to photo marker number 3. What was significant with photo marker number 3?
I would have to, are you able to zoom in? Is there another photograph? Or if I can refer to my report?
You can refer to your report. Would that help in refreshing your recollection as to photo number 3?
Yes, it would.
Okay. Council, do you need to see the report? Same report? Just ask for a
Same
refresher.
report, I have it, thank you.
Okay. And draw your attention to the third photo number 3. In reviewing that, is your memory now sufficiently refreshed?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so in this photograph here, what are we looking at?
Glass fragments.
And could you kind of circle it on the screen so it's clear to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what we're... Those look different than the last glass fragments
Yes, they
we
are.
were looking at. How are they different so it's clear on the record?
It appears to be a tint or a darker color.
Moving on to photo markers, and so for this is the establishing shot for which 4 photo markers?
4, 5, 6, and 7.
Okay. Going to the close-up of photo marker number 4. What was the important item of evidence in this photo?
Spent casing.
Okay. There's a scale on each photo marker. Why is that?
So we're able to document the size of the specific item in the picture or that we're photographing.
And are all of these items later on collected?
Yes, they are.
Going on to photo marker number 5. I'm going to start with the item to the left here. What is that?
Spent casing.
Okay. Moving over to the right of photo marker number 5. What is that?
Spent casing.
Did you collect both of those 2 spent casings?
That is correct.
Okay. And in terms of another view of these 2 casings on number 5, is that what we're looking at here?
That is correct.
Moving on to photo marker number 6. What? I'm going to move into the closer up one for photo marker number 6. I'm going to start to the one to the left. What is that?
Spent casing.
Okay. Is that the same one that was next to photo marker number 5?
Not to my knowledge.
And to the right of photo marker number 6?
It's another spent casing.
Going on to photo marker number 7. What are we looking at in photo marker number 7?
Spent casing.
Were all of these spent casings of the same caliber when you collected them?
Yes, they were.
Okay. Again, last photo here of number 7.
Spent casing.
Moving on to the north side of the street on 8, 9, and 10. What did you collect at photo marker number 8?
Glass fragments.
Is that a view of those glass fragments?
Yes, it is.
Moving on to photo marker number 9. What did you collect at this location?
Glass fragments.
Moving on to photo marker number 10. What did you collect at this location?
Glass fragments.
We're looking here now at the one of the last 2 photos. What is this photo depicting?
Measuring or a detective utilizing a measurement device.
And what is that measurement device?
It measures distance. It's a yardstick or meter stick.
So I'm going to go through now with those items that were collected. So it's been marked as States W.
Judge, can we approach briefly?
Yes.
Do you recognize that item?
Yes, I do.
Is it in the same or substantially same condition as when you recovered it on November 21st of 2018?
That is correct.
What does that item consist of?
The glass fragments, as all of the glass fragments that were obtained from the scene.
Are there 5 samples of glass fragments that are in that container?
That is correct.
And that you recognize your seal and ID number as signing on that?
Sustained, don't leave.
With regards to that, is there anything else on there that was not on there when you last sealed it?
Yes, there is.
The yellow sticker here, do you recognize that?
No, I do not.
Here at this time, the state is requesting that it states WN.
That objection?
Yes. Credit. She doesn't recognize the seal on that particular item.
Anything else?
Incorrect statement as to that. It's theirs.
Excuse me, anything else, Mr. Adelson?
No, sir.
That objection's overruled. It'll be admitted.
States W will be marked States 22.
Moving on to what's been marked as States X for identification purposes. Showing council.
What number?
Okay, Investigator Curry, I'm now showing you what's been previously marked as States X for identification purposes. Do you recognize those items?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize them?
My writing on the packaging as well as my name and ID number, Miramar ID number at the time.
And are they in the same or substantially same condition as when you collected them on November 21st of 2018?
That is correct.
Are they sealed?
Yes, they are, sir.
Your Honor, at this time, the state requests to move States X in.
Is there any objection?
No objection.
It'll be admitted.
States X will be marked States 23.
So Investigator Curry, on States 22 and 23, did you photograph those items?
Yes, I did.
So I'm showing council what's been previously marked and reviewed as States Composite Y, a USB, and 9 pages of photographs.
Just make the same representation.
Of course. Investigator Curry, I'm showing you now what's been previously marked as States Composite Y for identification purposes only. Do you recognize that USB and those 9 pages of photographs?
Yes, sir.
Do they fairly and accurately represent the documentation that you did of States 22 and 23 that is now in evidence?
Yes.
Here, at this time, the state requesting move States Y in as
Any objection?
No objection with the same proviso. The USB is the same as the photographs.
And that's the
Correct.
representation?
yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, it'll be admitted.
Okay.
States Y will be marked States 24. So plus 1 USB composite and 9 photos.
So starting with what's labeled as image 76, if you could just briefly describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury the case number that's on there as well as the number marker.
Yes. So the case number identifies, it's in reference to the same case that these items were collected. In regards to the item number pertains to the photo marker that was in the photographs of the scene.
Prior to photographing and processing these on November 27th of 2018, did you do an MVAC filter?
Yes, I did.
Can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what is an MVAC filter?
So an MVAC filter, it's used to collect any type of DNA or any additional information utilizing a test. The MVAC, the MVAC system itself uses a filtered item. So any type of DNA that is collected off of the item that's being tested, it's filtered and put out to a filter that is then tested and sent off to a lab.
And so, Investigator Curry, do you have training and experience on when it is appropriate to try and collect DNA from items?
That is correct.
In this instance, did you walk the jury through, please, the process of how you did the MVAC filter collection?
With the assistance of additional crime scene technicians, after collecting the item itself, it is then submerged in sterile water. A machine then spins the item. In this case, it was the spent casing. It spins the item. The water then absorbs whatever that DNA or whatever particles are on the item that's within the water. And then after that, that water is then filtered through a kind of like a cotton swab or a cotton ball, and the remnants or whatever DNA or whatever additional items are filtered through that cotton ball and then sent out to the lab to be analyzed.
Can you see the DNA on there with the naked eye?
No.
Do you know if it's successful or not at the time you finish completing the filter?
No, we do not.
No. Going forward back to the photographs, you have a number 1 on here.
That is correct.
What does the number 1 correspond to with regards to the previous photographs you just looked at?
It corresponds to the yellow photo marker that was within the previous photograph.
Do you photograph each casing from all sides and angles?
Yes.
So that's item number 1. 3 photos of that. And now, so if you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what item we're looking at now.
Spec casing, identified as photo marker number 4.
With regards to the writing that's on the back of each of these spent casings, were they all consistent with one another?
Yes, they were.
And what type of writing or markings were on each of these casings?
Blazer, 40, S&W.
As a crime scene technician, what is a Blazer 40 S&W mean?
It refers to the caliber of the spec casing as well as the brand.
Moved on to item number 5 in these photographs.
A spec casing.
Were there more than one item at photo marker number 5?
Yes, there was.
Moving on to photo marker number 6.
Spec casing.
Again, was there more than one spent casing at photo marker number 6?
Yes, there was.
Moving on to photo marker number 7. What are you documenting in these photos?
Spec casing.
Moving on to photo marker number 2. What are you documenting in these photos?
Glass fragments.
Photo marker number 3.
Glass fragments.
Photo marker number 8. Now we're back on the north side of the road. Is my recollection correct on that?
That is correct.
Okay. Again, photo marker number 8.
Glass fragments.
Photo marker number 9.
Glass fragments.
And photo marker number 10.
Glass fragments.
So going forward, after you photographed these, I want to go to your investigation when you were in Margate, Florida, with regards to this case very briefly. Did you assist with a search warrant in Margate, Florida?
Yes, I did.
Did you collect any evidence there?
Yes, I did.
Were any firearms collected?
No.
With regards to that specific location in Margate, do you remember where it was?
Yes.
And where was that?
Don't remember the specific address, but it was near university.
Is there anything that would refresh your recollection as to this specific address?
Referring to my report, yes.
And counsel, we need to?
No, I haven't, thank you.
Okay. Counsel, just read the first paragraph silently to yourself and let me know when your memory has been sufficiently refreshed.
Refresh.
Okay, and so what was the address of that?
5700 Toscana Place, apartment 307.
While you were at that residence, did you make contact with any individuals?
Not to my recollection.
The search warrant and the photographs that were taken at that, you said there was no firearms recovered?
Correct.
Was there a storage unit key that was recovered?
I would have to refer to my report.
Would that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Okay. And then you have the 6th paragraph, if you just read that silently to yourself.
Thank you.
So was there a storage unit key that was collected?
Yes, there was.
Was there mail collected from that location?
Yes, it was.
The individual that was named on the mail, who was that?
Jamell Demons.
With regards to later on that day, did you then help and assist on the execution of a second search warrant?
Yes, I did.
So that second search warrant at a storage unit location, did you recover any firearms there?
No, we did not.
Just a moment to control the closing. So I'm going to show you what's been show council. What's been marked as state Z. So I'm showing you what's been previously shown to Defense Counsel as state and marked for identification as state's composite Z. Do you recognize those items?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize those items?
With my handwriting on there, as well as my initials, date, and my Miramar Police Department number on the seal.
And do they are the same or substantially same condition as when you collected them on the October of 2018?
Correct.
Here at this time, the state would request to move states Z in a composite of 3 items.
Is there any objection?
No.
It'll be admitted.
States.
Positive 3. What's the number?
State Z is positive 3 items, and it will be marked states 25.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, 25, you said?
25.
And so, permission to publish state Z.
You may.
Ms. Gray, if you'd be so kind as to open that and publish those items. And could you please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what the items are?
A clear bottle cap, grabber leaf packaging with a black straw inside, and Florida identification card for Anthony Williams.
And where were those items found?
Found at the hospital, retrieved from the hospital.
The items there, they're in the same condition?
Yes, they are.
With regards to what's been previously marked for identification as states AA, do you recognize that item?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
A impact filter from the spent casings found at US 27.
And how do you recognize that?
With my markings, my writing, as well as my badge number and the date on seal.
And is that in the same or substantially same condition as when you packaged it and processed it in November of 2018?
Yes.
Here at this time, the state would request to make states AA and the states 26.
No objection?
No, no, sir.
It'll be admitted.
States AA marked 26.
So, Investigator Curry, with regards to suspect narcotics, if they are found, are those collected?
Yes, they are.
Did you collect any suspect narcotics in this case?
Not to my recollection.
Is there anything that would refresh your recollection as to that?
Yes, my report.
Okay. If I can approach, I have a copy of the property receipt with me. Sure. Would that help in assisting you?
Yes.
Okay. Can you explain to ladies and gentlemen of the jury what is a property receipt?
Yes. So property receipt identifies any type of evidence or items that are obtained or collected.
Is that something you document at the time when you were collecting the items?
That is correct.
Looking at that property receipt, are you refreshed as to your action if you collected any suspect narcotics?
That is correct.
Did you collect any suspect narcotics from the person of Christopher Thomas?
Yes, I did.
And what was that?
Cannabis.
Okay. And that item, was it packaged?
Yes, it was.
Do you have the ability to test suspect narcotics at the Miramar Police Department?
Yes, we did.
In terms of, is it analysis for a chemical certainty or is it a presumptive test?
It's a presumptive test.
Additional testing for any such information as to what that substance was, what agency does that to your knowledge?
It's sent out to the BSO lab.
So after you conducted the documentation, all the photographs, how do you preserve those photographs?
They are burned to a disc, whether it's CD or DVD, and stored in our evidence facility.
After you did that in this case, did that conclude your involvement in this investigation?
Yes.
Okay. No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Counsel, can I see sidebar, please? Ladies and gentlemen, excuse me one second. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I just was asking the attorneys approximately cross-examination, so my thought is, based upon conversations I've had with the attorneys, it's probably best we break now. So remember the admonition. Do not discuss the case. Don't form any opinion about the case. Don't allow anyone to discuss the case in your presence. Certainly no research about the case. Just leave your notepads on your chairs. Gary will pick those up, and we'll see everybody back. Now we're going to start 15 minutes later, 9:15 tomorrow. All right? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night.